Welcome to the Tony Talks Wealth Podcast. This show is dedicated to helping you manage your money better, invest wisely, retire early, and grow your wealth for you and your family and live your best life. My name is Tony Thomas, Chartered Financial Planner, Pension Specialist, and Money Coach. I've advised thousands of people over the last 30 years. I'm going to share with you real life stories and everything that you need to know to build a financially secure future and a great lifestyle. If you enjoy the podcast, then feel free to subscribe and leave a review. Now let's dive into today's episode on the Tony Talks Wealth Podcast. Today I'm going to talk about the importance of investment performance on your pensions. If you have money in a pension or are looking to invest further sums into a pension, then you will be subject to a future rate of return. Whatever you do, there will be a return on your money. This could be a good return, a poor return, or it could even be a negative return. So what do we mean by a return? This is a description of the rate of interest you will get if your money is held in cash, or the annual investment return if the money is invested. Most people use investments in their pensions and these will generate an investment return. You cannot receive income from your investments whilst you're in the accumulation stage and before the age of 55. So the return you get from your money invested within your pension will be down to capital growth and a combination of any income which is rolled up into the funds. If your money which you invest performs badly, this could result in a negative return. So in other words, you could see capital losses on your funds. This episode aims to discuss how important this factor is, and I will outline some basic examples of how much future returns can affect the eventual outcome. How much returns have varied from commonly used pension funds, and what you can do to give yourself the best chance of getting the best returns possible from whatever investment strategy that you pursue. So let's look at each key point. The first being future investment returns. So just how much difference do future investment returns make? Well, one aspect of a pension is, more often than not, it represents a long-term investment. More so than just about any other investment most people will ever do. This is a good thing because it means there is plenty of time to deal with the ups and downs in prices and values that inevitably occur with higher risk asset areas or investments. And these tend to perform much better over the long term. Plus, to magnify the impact of extra annual returns. The effect of compounding returns is real and dynamic. Aiming to achieve the best compounding return you can get is highly desirable objective for any pension investor. So aiming to achieve the best compounding return you can get is a highly desirable objective for any pension investor. So let's look at an example. So let's take two 40-year-olds who have pension funds of exactly the same value today. And that is £40,000. They both have a fresh start with their investment approach and again starting today. So let's compare what investor 1 would get at a 3% return each year compared to an investor 2 who will get 6% each year. So let's look at what they get by the age of 50. So investor 1 who has that 3% return each year will grow his pension fund from £40,000 to just over £53,000. And investor 2 who gets 6% return each year will grow his pension fund to over £71,000. So that's a difference of around £19,000. It's quite a lot of money over 10 years. Now let's look at what the figures would be at the age of 70. So investor 1, again remember this is 3% return each year, would grow his pension pot, would grow the pension pot in just over £97,000. And investor 2 who gets 6% each year would grow their pension pot to nearly £230,000. That is a whopping £113,000. So there's a stark difference between the two. This is all simple mathematics and a demonstration of the differences that can be achieved by obtaining higher rates of growth. Remember, in the real world, these differences represent the difference to the future value of your funds, and the prize for getting better returns is a big prize, one that has a direct consequence on the amount of money you will have available in the future to enjoy retirement. Secondly, time or extra return. What makes the biggest difference? It is interesting to view just how much difference is made in generating returns if we both view time and returns in a separate fashion. To start with, let's look at 3 investors with £40,000 in their pension funds who have a 10-year time horizon. One of the investors will get 3% return each year, another will get 6% return each year, and the third one will get 9% return each year. So let's look at their pot sizes after 10 years, which is investor 1 gets 3% return, his pension pot grows to £53,000. Investor 2, who gets 6% return each year, will get over £71,000. And investor 3, who gets 9% each year, will get over £94,000. So even in a short period, the extra return starts to escalate and compound. However, it is time which makes the astonishing differences. So again, let's look at 2 of these investors who get the 3 and the 6% returns, but this time over 30 years. Investor 1, who gets the 3% return each year, will have a pension pot of just over £97,000. Investor 2, who gets 6% return each year, grows his pension to just under £230,000. And if we extend that to 40 years, so investor 1 getting the 3% return each year will grow their pension fund to just over £130,000. But investor 2, who gets 6% return each year, will grow his pension fund to over £411,000. That is absolutely massive. So the compounding effect is amazing over time and accentuates the final figures. Many pension investors may say something along the lines that, but I'm 50 already and I don't have 30 to 40 years to invest, which is a fair point. However, even a 10-year period delivers a sizable difference if better returns can be found. Plus, many pension investors will continue to have their pension pots managed and invested well into their retirement years. The recent changes to how private pensions may be drawn at retirement through pension freedoms mean that many investors will draw on their pension pot slowly, in stages, throughout retirement, leaving the undrawn part invested. This means a 50-year-old may still have an investment approach in place for another 20 years or more. Thirdly, let's look at the next key point, which is the real-world position. How have pension funds performed in the past and what sort of differences in performance have occurred? So can you make a difference when you invest monies? Well, the answer is yes, you can. Provided you can find good returns with good performance, it will make a big difference. So let's look at an example using managed funds. This is a sector which contains funds where the fund manager invests mainly into equities, but with a split to include other assets such as cash and gilts. This is the traditional managed fund that many pension investors use. And we just looked at, or this example compares, and this example looked at the average return of these funds over a 10-year period, which produced 84%. So this is around about 6.2% each year. However, the average of the top quartile, that is the best 25%, was 7.6% each year. But the average of the bottom quartile, that is the last or the worst 25%, was 4.3% each year. So again, there's a difference between 3.3% each year growth in pension funds. So you can see that over a relatively short period, that is 10 years in this example, an investor who was in the average of the best funds would have gained around 3.3% more each year than an investor in the average of the worst. and the top quartile investor would have had around £83,000, and the bottom quartile investor would have had just over £60,000. And if they start off with £40,000, then that's just over £22,000 more simply by choosing a better fund or funds. And finally, the conclusion from all of this. An investor who can get the better returns, will have a far bigger pot at retirement than an investor who gets low returns. Today, this is a big factor because of the recent changes in pension rules for private pensions, meaning that from April 2015 onwards, pensions can be drawn in full, subject to tax of course, at retirement. They do not have to be turned into an annuity. Someone arriving at retirement with a pot of £100,000 because they have managed to get a better return than someone else who has a pot of £70,000, as an example, can enjoy this extra £30,000 as a cash sum subject to any tax. We have established that returns compound quickly and that even relatively small extra amounts soon start to add up. So how do we try to ensure we get the best returns? Well, for me, it highlights the importance of seeking help and advice. As I mentioned earlier, since the changes back in 2015 with pension freedoms, this change has invigorated pensions, making them incredibly flexible at their most important stage, the stage where they are needed to produce income. However, this change should not mask what is important to anyone saving into a pension and looking forward to their retirement. The amount of money that is in the pension will always be the most important factor. And in this respect, this episode has been made to highlight how much difference pension investors can make to their eventual retirement pot and income by focusing on the importance of returns generated year on year. So how does a pension investor get better performance? Well, it's clear that performance makes a big difference, that there are variations in performance in the fund market, and the two investors using similar strategies can and possibly will get very different results. How can you set out to get the better performance? Clearly, no one knows what future returns will be from any sector or fund in the market. Likewise, there is no guarantee that a good past performance will be maintained. This suggests that there is an element of chance around pursuing any mix of fund selection. This is true, but only to a certain point. There are ways to focus on better performance, and there are steps to improve the prospects of getting superior future returns. Naturally, these are not guaranteed, but these steps can be employed by anyone, and they include: step 1, ensuring that your asset allocation approach is based on your risk profile and tolerance. Number 2, using detailed analysis of funds, which extends beyond a simple past performance assessment. Number 3, ensuring that funds you use are non-correlated and are well diversified. Step 4, undertaking a process of regular reviews to monitor and, where appropriate, change any non-performing funds and to keep your approach current to changing fortunes. Step 5, having a disciplined and structured approach and a plan of action which is focused on continually searching out the best funds. Step 6, working with appropriate qualified and quality professional advisors who will have the experience in the selection of the funds within your pensions is vital. The summary of this is a simple one. Improving performance or getting good performance is worth pursuing. It is unlikely to cost you any more in charges. However, it will inevitably require more time and focus. The outcome, if you can achieve this higher pension for you to enjoy, the outcome, if you can achieve this, is a higher pension pot for you to enjoy in your retirement and allow you to do more of the things that you enjoy doing. That's it for this week's episode. If you want help with this area of financial planning, then please get in touch. And I look forward to you joining me next week where we discuss income drawdown. As always, don't forget to drop me a message for the topics that you want covered next time. Thanks for listening to today's episode. You can find links to everything that we've discussed in the show notes. And if you'd like to know more about what I do or see more great money tips to build a secure and a happy lifestyle, then you can find all of these on my website, ttwealth.co.uk, or my YouTube channel, ttwealth. If you want to work with me, then why not book a free 30-minute call to find out how. You can also follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I also produce a bi-monthly newsletter, TT Wealth News, which contains practical money tips that is free for you to download from my website. And if you're enjoying this podcast, don't hesitate to leave a review. Of course, the more stars the better, and equally, sharing is caring. So if you've heard something that you've enjoyed and you think will benefit someone you know, then please do share with them. I'm sure they will appreciate it. So it's goodbye until next time, and remember, live for today, invest for tomorrow.